Carbonman. Written and recorded by D.N. Chow. Episode 1. Chapter 1. They locked eyes. That was the problem. It wasn't Jett's usual route home, but after playing an away game and missing the team bus, he had to cross the gap, the rusted suspension bridge spanning the narrowest part of Rollins River, the torrential brown industrial artery of the city of Flexington. Seeing the man, layered up for winter, standing there, on the other side of the railing, gripping the mesh fence behind himself, was incongruous to what one expects to see on a mundane walk home. It wasn't until the man turned his head, and his tired red eyes met Jett's, that Jett crossed the point of no return. It was a loaded look, full of emptiness. The man's tears had seeped into his cheeks, like ancient rivers, leaving behind stinging skin, further punished by the cool breeze. He ripped his eyes away, ashamed to be seen by a boy, and severed the moment of connection between the two strangers. Then, he shook his head, as if to put the inconvenience of being witnessed aside, and let go of the fence, falling face first into the raging water that had eaten so many souls. Jett froze for a moment, before rushing to the edge and dangling his head over. He hoped to see a body resurface, but the man's heavy woolen overcoat continued to help him find comfort in the depths of winter. Now, hours later, Jett sits off to the southern mouth of the bridge under a polyester blanket, recounting this story to the police. They take great care of him, being who he is. Jett's eyes are on the river, lit by a full moon and city lights. It's not enough for the police to launch a recovery mission, though, and it's not exactly pragmatic. He sips on a hot chocolate given to him by Captain Canaggio, who showed up the moment he got word that Phan's kid was witness to a jump. He's a tall, greying man, still as solid as a pile of bricks wrapped in a stack of cinder blocks, and with a touch just as soft. He stands over the top of Jett, with one ear on the kid's words, and the other listening out for the kid's dad. A black SUV swings around the corner and crunches the nearby gravel. Here he is, immaculate in a black tuxedo. He steps out, driving his right foot into the ground and launching into an authoritative gait. He straightens his jacket and strides towards the clump of officers surrounding Jett. "Bobby Phan," Captain Canaggio says, holding his hand up for a bro clasp. Bobby and the captain embrace. "Mayor Proto give you the night off?" "Yeah, right. I've got an hour to get this one home, and then it's back to the fundraising thingy," Bobby says. "So who's got the mayor's back while you're here having a bludge?" another heavyset officer asks. "More like who's keeping an eye on the waitresses now that no one's keeping an eye on the mayor," Captain Canaggio adds. Bobby shakes his head and laughs. "I've told him not to move from his seat, and if he needs to go potty, he has to hold it in till I get back." "Tell me, are the rumours true?" "Yeah." "Has he told you where the bodies are buried?" asks the other cop. Bobby clears his throat, stands a little taller, and puts on a mock serious face. "Mayor Proto denies all allegations put forward by his political adversaries in what can only be described as a witch hunt. Thank you. No more questions." He and his mates laugh before Bobby turns his eyes to the river. "So another jumper, eh?" "5th in 5 months, mate. Must be the full moon," Captain Canaggio says. Should rename the bridge." The stocky cop clicks his fingers, struck by thought. "The trampoline." "You've got the mayor's ear, Bobby. We'll all chip in for the new plaque," Canaggio adds. The old cops laugh away, just like the old days. "Suppose I should check in with him," Bobby says, thumbing in the direction of his son. He walks over to Jett, who is shaking under his blanket. "Come on, get in the car." Good Nights with Kirk Knight drones as they drive home. "You're with KK, the DJ barks. Then his voice ramps up, as if the air is sucked from his lungs into his throat with a turbocharger. Jett can feel the spit hit the microphone as KK rips into single mothers for their love of welfare and poor life choices. The dial never changes in his father's car. 7:63 a.m, where talkback bites back against political correctness. Jett glances over at his dad, who nods with a sneer as Kirk Knight tells it as it is. The invective is broken by an advertisement for Family Values funeral homes, where loved ones come home for good. "So did you win?" Bobby asks. "Yes, Dad." "How many tries?" 4 tries to 2. "How many did you score?" "None." "None?" his dad says, turning his head and taking his eyes off the road. "You should be getting the ball more. You're the best attacking weapon they've got. You're the strongest and fastest, and you ain't scared of the bigger guys." He shakes his head. "I'll have a word to your idiot coach for leaving you behind as well. Hasn't he heard of a head count?" Jett squirms and clutches at his stomach. It wasn't his coach's fault that he missed the bus. The tight chest and gut aches he's been having recently mean that even a short bus trip is like riding a roller coaster with a busted wheel. So, when it was time to leave, he told Coach Tuft that his dad was on the way to pick him up. Coach Tuft, not wanting to have to deal with the wrath and unsolicited coaching advice of Mr. Phan, didn't ask any questions. Jett thinks about elaborating and saying, "I didn't score a try this week, Dad. I'm trying to share the ball around. But I did set up every single one, including one with a double cutout pass." But he's not in a mood to talk, and it wouldn't placate his dad anyway. "Why are you so quiet?" his dad asks him as they almost reach home. Then he realises his gaffe. He takes a breath. "Just make up for it by scoring 2 tries next week, alright?" "Thanks, Dad," Jett says. Super dad to the rescue, he thinks to himself. They pull up out the front of the Phan family home. Bobby's eyes are on the digital display. He is due back in 15 minutes, so he doesn't bother pulling into the driveway. Jett gets out of the car as his dad turns up the radio. KK echoes a caller's sentiments about the traditional family unit. "Damn straight," Bobby mutters in agreement with the caller. Jett closes the door, and his dad zooms off back to work. He unlatches the front gate and closes it behind himself, with a slight clang. He walks up the flagstone pathway and has to time his steps as the rotating sprinklers dance in their water-restricted time slot. Judging by their lush lawn, their water is plumbed straight from the Garden of Eden. He reaches the front door and pats himself down for his keys. He finds them in his left pants pocket and lets himself in. "Sweetheart," his mother Gail says, walking through the hallway. Jett perks up and is about to respond when she continues walking. "Don't be so precious. I send hundreds of texts and emails every day. I don't have time to double-check every single word of every single one of them." He notices the ever-persistent earpiece in her left ear and realises that she is still on the clock. As she always drums into her children, the sun never sets on the hustle. She drifts into the spare room, which she has commandeered as her office, and closes the door behind herself. Jett goes to the kitchen and drops his bag on the floor. Then he opens the freezer drawer, revealing this week's prepped meals. Tuesday, neatly written on a piece of masking tape no bigger than it needs to be. His brother Bruce is home, as evidenced by the gap in the neat row of plastic containers. He's probably holed up in his room on his iPad. Jett grabs a plastic brick and microwaves it. He sits on one of the tall stools at the kitchen bench. He feels the pangs of hunger, but his stomach is still stirred by the afternoon's event. That, and the recent gut aches, makes every spoonful a laboured, mechanical process. The food sits in his mouth for seconds before he has the energy to chew it. A hot shower couldn't wash away the knot inside him. Now it's 10:30, and he flips around on his bed like a fish on a pier. They locked eyes. That is the problem, he realises. It's as if the look they shared was linked by a limp low voltage, a grey bolt of electricity that seemed to switch on a circuit inside Jett. Head, heart and gut are all firing together. He can't stop thinking of the jumper, and it's as if the man's last moments of anguish have possessed him. Is it merely the knowledge of another's suffering, or guilt that grinds his guts? No, it can't be guilt, he thinks to himself. Jett is fast. Probably the fastest 12-year-old in the team. but even he couldn't have got there in time. But then again, he could have. Of course he could have. Jett is smart and body literate. On the field, he knows where the ball is going before it gets there, and in the ring, the slightest twitch of his sparring partner's shoulder has him slipping and countering before the arm can even straighten into a jab. He saw this coming. Why else would a man stand on the wrong side of a bridge? Eyes that red must have spilled rivers, and a look that resigned means the light of the soul cannot travel farther than the end of its nose. That's what's keeping him up tonight. That body was destined for the river. But maybe he had a chance to stop the flow of events. He sits up, looks out his window, and reads the scene. A full moon, a clear sky, the trough of winter. 5 jumpers in the past 5 months. There may be darker hours yet to come. There is no sneaking out of the Phan household at night. Stealth is not necessary when the sentinels only watch the metrics of grades and trophies. Jett simply gets into his thermals, walks out the back door, and hops on his bike. His full-face downhill helmet sits on the end of his handlebars, his last ride having been a tree-lined blur through Hartman's Pass. It's probably the best option anyway, as it lessens the bite of the evening chill. The gap isn't so ugly at night. The darkness also hides the brown mark of Rollins River, and the reflected moon embellishes it like a diamond necklace hanging off a corpse. Jett shivers in the dark, away from a cover-busting street lamp. He warms his hands with his breath. He checks his phone. 2:30. A few hours of suicide watch has popped some of the bubbles, eating away at his stomach. Enough for him to sleep at least. He jumps back on his bike, and is about to drive his right foot into its pedal when he hears hurried footsteps. Something tells him they're female. He turns around. He's right. Lit by moon and lamplight, a sobbing woman rips off her coat as if it's covered in ants and drops it behind herself. Then she latches onto the railing and gets one knee over. Not this time, Jett thinks to himself. He drops his bike, braces over, and snatches her hand, stealing a meal from the jaws of death. Startled, she rips her arm away from him and clutches it close to her body. She squints at him warily, despite the boy being less of a threat than the murky river. "Who are you?" she asks, backing up against the fence. "Nobody." His unbroken voice surprises her. "What's a kid like you doing here in the middle of the night?" "I saw someone jump off the bridge today." "It wouldn't be a full moon in Flexington without one." "That's why I'm here." She shakes her head. Even kids have nothing to live for. "No, that's not what I meant. I came just in case..." The screech of tyres cuts him off. "Go!" she shouts, pointing into the darkness. Jett looks at the car, speeding towards them. "You need to leave," she says, with urgency. "If he's the reason for you being on the wrong side of the bridge, I'm not going anywhere." "Do you want to be the one in the river?" Jett swallows. The car skids to a halt, and the driver door flings open so hard that it bounces back, forcing the driver to block it with his palms. A stocky menace, with a shaved head and more ink than a pen factory, gets out and doesn't bother closing the door. He leaves the car running right there on the bridge. Sure, it's the middle of the night, but Jett senses the man would have done the same in the middle of the day. The personalised number plate is just as garish as the man's tattoos, the most polluting of which is the Old English scrawled across his neck. "Who the hell is he?" the man shouts. "Nobody," the woman answers with fire in her voice. "Get in the car." "No, I said get in the car." "Don't hurt him, Hector. He's just a kid." "Just get in the car." "I'll get in the car if you promise not to hurt him." "Fine." "Promise?" "Yeah." She gives Jett an apologetic look, before picking up her coat. She rips open the passenger door and slumps into the seat. "So who the hell are you?" Are you going to hurt her? The man walks away without answering. He gets back into his car, slams the door shut, and burns rubber as he reverses back in the direction from which he came, while Jett watches on, with his feet glued to the bridge. Did he just save a life, or extend a living hell? It eats away at him as he thinks about what to do now. Action speaks louder than idle regret, so Jett closes his eyes and focuses. Two things come to mind. One, the personalised number plate, and two, his father's blatant disregard for network security. Lady killer, I'm coming for you. Now is the time for stealth. After placing his bike against the wall by the back door, Jett slinks into his house and creeps to the family study. The cheap pine laminate desk is empty. Damn. His dad must have taken his laptop to bed. Jett tiptoes down the hallway and takes a deep breath as he reaches his parents' bedroom door. He turns the knob and peeks in. His father is sound asleep, but his mother is up. Goddamn hustle. So much for stealth. May as well grab a sledgehammer. Mum, he says. Jett, she says, startled. What are you doing up? It's a school night. I couldn't sleep. What are you doing up? Work. Go back to bed, she says, peering over her black-framed glasses. He edges closer to the bed. It's huge. A super king, 203 centimetres squared. He glances towards his father's side, who sleeps with his back to his wife, clutching his laptop. Dad looks a bit uncomfortable. Your father works long shifts and worked hard to get where he is. Being head of security for the mayor is the secondment of a lifetime. Jett walks around to the other side of the bed and reaches down for the laptop. What are you doing? Just trying to make Dad more comfortable. You'll do no such thing. Leave him be and go back to bed. Jett sighs and turns to go. As he does so, his dad snorts like a chainsaw and rolls onto his back, releasing the laptop. It slides off his arm, and Jett grabs it before it hits the floor. Just in the nick of time. I'll leave it in his office. He places it on the desk, flips it open, and presses the on button. He wheels on the BIOS, the hard drive, and every individual transistor to hurry up and get this boot sequence done with. After what seems like an age to him, he is greeted with the logo of the Flexington Police Department. Beneath it is a username and password prompt. His fingers flitter over the keyboard as R.Phan grows across the input field. Then anonymous dots appear as he punches in the password. He hits enter, but is met by dreaded red text. He tries Cobra again, uppercase C, but this time with 124 after it. The screen changes, and he thanks his father for the sequential manner in which he updates his password. Finally, it's his cue. The password prompt that will take him straight into the guts of the Flexington Police Department. He figures his father would have updated this password at the same time as the laptops, and goes for 124. It works. He runs the cursor across various drop-down menus, and finds what he's looking for. Check license plate. He clicks it, taking him to a simple screen asking for a single input. LDYKLR. He taps the enter key. A circle spins as digital eyes scan the archives. Then it appears. Hector Hyde, 24 years old, and most importantly, only a 15-minute ride away. Jett tears through the night, warmed by his full-face helmet and a hot dose of adrenaline. He runs through his plan. He'll observe from the best position he can find and, well, that's it. He turns into Ashburn Crescent, a wide street with single-story houses. He slows his pedalling, and soon the car comes into view. Parked in a driveway that leads to a fibro house, with 3 other cars parked on the lawn, all in various states of disrepair. One is up on bricks, another has been eaten by the grass, and another has all its windows broken. Jett swallows. He gets off his bike, walks it to a tree on the nature strip, and leans it against the trunk. He keeps his helmet on and creeps up to the lounge room. The blind is drawn, but it glows at the window frame. Someone is up. He edges closer and cups his hands around his eyes, but the bottom of the blind is pulled down too far to see anything. There is no sound with which to work either. Is this good or bad? He wonders to himself. But he's done what he can. There is a natural limit to the real-world effectiveness of a 12-year-old's good intentions, and here, on the front lawn of a derelict house, is as far as his heart can take him. He turns and trudges back to his bike, knowing that whatever happens from here is between the woman and her boyfriend. He goes to grab his handlebars. Then bang! He's smashed from behind by what must be a torpedo. He hits a footpath hard, and is thankful that his helmet protects his face from the concrete, but his hands sting from breaking the fall, and his back is being eaten inside out from a bruise that is growing like wine on carpet. Facing the ground with the assailant riding his back, Jett's Brazilian jiu-jitsu instincts kick in. He manages to push up, roll over, and face his attacker. The dull glow of a nearby street lamp offers enough of a look. The old English tattoo across the neck confirms the identity of the tackler. Hector Hyde has full mount, so Jett pushes against him and creates enough of a gap underneath the man's crotch to fit a knee through. Then Jett sweeps him, reversing their position. On top and in half guard, their chests press hard against each other's. Suddenly, a surge of energy sucks them together, as if magnetizing them. The violent intent dissipates. Their hearts beat in time, amplifying the rhythm of life itself. They are on another plane. A whole other dimension. Then Jett comes to, and releases Hector, and sits back on his own heels. He lumbers to his feet, and offers a hand, which Hector willingly clasps. Jett hoists him up, and they stand together, both sheepish over what has just happened. "I'm sorry I trespassed," Jett says, his voice filtered by his helmet. "You're the kid from the bridge," Hector says. "Did you follow me?" Jett nods. "What did you just do to me?" "I don't know. I feel different." "So do I." "Where is the girl?" "Home." Jett glances at the house. "Not here. Her home." "She doesn't live with you?" "She lives with our mother." "Oh crap," Jett thinks to himself. "Your brother and sister?" "Yeah." "Oh God, you thought we were... Sorry. You thought I was a wife beater, didn't you?" "I'm so sorry. I ain't my father. I've done things I ain't proud of, but I'd never lay hands on a woman." "Is she okay?" "If she takes her meds, she might be. What are you doing chasing cars anyway?" I don't know what I'm doing." "Yeah, well, you shouldn't. Especially ones like mine. But you got some solid stones to come this far." Only then does it hit Jett. This could have ended badly. Without his helmet, his face would be all over the pavement. "Sorry. And sorry I trespassed." Hector nods once, accepting Jett's apology. "I go for a walk to clear my head and see someone on my lawn. You're lucky I ain't packing tonight, 'cause normally I am." "I'm so sorry." Jett wants to leave now. He angles his body towards his bike, but his feet point straight at Hector and cement him in place. They look at each other awkwardly for a beat. "What's going on?" Hector asks. "I really don't know," Jett answers. "Take care of yourself. And your sister." Hector's lips tremble. His face fights hard, but his tears win out, sending his shoulders shuddering. He slaps his giant inked right hand over his eyes in an attempt to hide his shame. Now Jett's feet find their path. Jett moves towards Hector and holds him. Chest to chest, Hector feels as if gentle hands cup his heart, keeping it from shattering into irretrievable shards. Hector takes his hand away from his eyes and wraps both arms around Jett. The embrace is welcomed, cherished, and natural. The bond feels fraternal, lifelong, deep and elemental. Questions of trust were answered long before they were asked. Jett soaks up everything Hector throws at him, every tear, every tremor, every wail, and says nothing in return. He doesn't know what else to do, and simply holding him feels natural enough. Soon Hector's body settles, and his breath slows. He lifts his face off Jett's shoulder and looks him in his eyes, through the gap in the helmet. For Hector, it's as if half his load has been taken. For Jett, it's as if all of Hector's feelings are transposed onto him. "Sorry, kid," he says. Jett shakes his head, to say there are no sorries needed. Hector then trudges up the driveway and disappears around the back of the house. Jett releases a sigh and stands still. His gut is settled, his chest is loosened, the night is silent, and his heart, which slows its thumping, seems to have found a secret chamber. What the hell just happened? Jett thinks to himself.